nice.
Hey YouTubers, Grimmy Dragon here, and once again it is review time. And this week we are taking a look at the Perfect Effect Hands and Feet Upgrade Kit for Bruticus. Okay, so we'll start with the hands first. Well, with one of the hands at least. Both are the same pretty much, but you know, if you've seen any of the Perfect Effect hand-foot upgrades before, or seen a review before, you know what to expect. The only real difference is that they've changed the molding on the digits and the thumb from what the standard releases were. Like I'll put Superion's white hand-foot, well, hands with it. You can see the tips are not nearly as rounded, and the digits are actually a slightly bit shorter. I mean, it's not much, but there is a little bit less of a length to them, which works out fine. It doesn't hurt the digits in any way. They still work just as well. But all in all, it's pretty much the same, except for a little bit of molding difference. And that said, you can still transform this into a nice little handgun for one of your deluxe limbots. And in this case, we'll be using Blastoff. And yeah, I've seen the pictures of what Takara's Blastoff look like. They look really good. I really want that version now. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off though. But as you can see, the hand makes a nice gun for Blastoff, for any of the deluxes. Of course, I'm going to want to use it for the ones that become the arms. And I think it works well with either one, so that works. I like it. Next up, we're going to look at the feet. Okay, of course. It's a pretty interesting foot, new mold entirely. Same basic design, they just remolded it. As you can tell, again, from Superion. And they did a lot more remolding than just the fingers and like on the hands. That pretty much, I mean, every bit of it feels, well, okay, I stand corrected. Pretty much the front and the guns themselves that are changed. The front has a little bit more of a Bruticus feel, a lot sharper, more angled, which works out really good. And as always, you can unfold it, and if you want, split it apart to create new weapons. And you got plenty of options for gripping points. You got two here on this one, plus another that can be flipped out. And this one has the single flip point. But you can also just use the one and have it as a dual-barreled gun, or cannon in this case, which is perfect for Brawl in his vehicle mode. giving him a pair of guns so big that his turret looks dinky. But it does work somewhat. I actually think it works best for Brawl out of anybody, because Swindle feels a little overdone, and for Onslaught, since you can work with these, you can turn his truck mode into a 4-turret tank of death, which in itself is pretty cool. And the guns do fit on here, although the way that these pits here look, it's a little clunky. Suppose you can angle them down again, but yeah, it doesn't work for me. So yeah, it's a little bit of a misstep. But it's nice that you can actually use them with the vehicle modes. The hands, I wouldn't really consider it. You might want to put them on both on blast off or something, but I don't think it would fit as well. Now, robot mode is where these weapons shine. The big guns really do work for the Combaticons, given their nature for being an elite military unit. I mean, Brawl, a giant gun that's akin to what Skyquake or Dreadwing used, is pretty fitting for the character. I mean, just an underslung weapon with a extra handle just for stability's sake, and it works very nicely. Swindle gets a more convincing arm cannon, at least the way I got it, and I think that works well for that particular gun, because it does look like a pretty fusion cannon like gun, although Swindle doesn't usually use a fusion cannon, but it's definitely a more intimidating gun than the little one that he comes with. And as for Onslaught, yeah, they make for nice shotguns. I mean, dual wielding shotguns works pretty good for Onslaught. I might have to tighten mine up a bit, since the hinges for his shoulders seem to be a little loose, but he can hold them pretty well, and I actually like this. So now that we know what the guns can do for the individual bots, I guess it's time to see what they do for Bruticus himself. Effectively speaking, the combined mode use of the hands and feet hasn't changed at all from the previous releases. Although it has been a while since we looked at them, so I guess a little then and now kind of helps. In my experience with the hand-foot guns, well, not the hand-foot guns, with these upgrade kits, the feet work a lot better when you're putting the combiners in a more dynamic pose than rather than a standing straight up. If you stand them straight up, they're very likely to tilt forward or back and fall over. Spread the legs out, pose them a little bit more epically, and they hold really well. So if you're up for more dynamic posing, the feet upgrades work great. The hands are a bit of another story. I mean, they're okay for hands. Like, they're alright. You have individual joints at each finger and at the knuckle. So you got 2 joints per finger. Thumb is all in a ball joint with a hinge right at the top. So you can get a lot of poses out of the hands, but they're still very thin, which is a problem. And try to get this in. The fists are not the best looking when you're trying to make one. And I might just be making a bad fist. That's entirely possible, but they don't really make it very easy to work with on those. The real downer for Bruticus, though, is that these new hands pretty much make it impossible to use Shockwave. And combination of the way the little block thing happens above the handle, just how it settles in. It's possible to get it in his hand, but it's not nearly as stable, and you can't push these two fingers in a slight bit without pushing the gun out. So yeah, if you intend to use Shockwave, you're gonna have to use these hands, like the hand-foot guns that were included. Personally, I like the stock hands over the Perfect Effect hands. The feet are great, the hands are not so good. That's been my opinion, and it hasn't really changed any. But still, I do feel the feet work great. Again, more epic the better for posing, but as dramatic pointing Superion can attest to. And solid as a rock like this, but when you get them into a more stock pose, they falter very easy. So yeah. So ultimately, the Perfect Effect to Upgrade kit is half good, half okay. Like, the feet are great. I highly recommend those. But honestly, I prefer the Hasbro hand-foot guns for the hands over the Perfect Effect hands. I like the guns that they can transform into, but as for hands, they are decent at best. Still, I would recommend these sets, if anything, just for the feet. So you can find them at Big Bad Toy Store, TF Source, places like that. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed this little video. Do the like, comment, subscribe thing if you did. And tune in next week when we go to Eternia to take a look at Lord Mask. And I will see you then. So goodbye out there, whatever you are.